Jesus led you to change what in your life?
Okay, so I can go on and on about this, so if I ramble, just
I got
pull
you.
it back. Well, I thought about this a lot last night and throughout the week. And definitely throughout my time as a Christian, but I think one thing that the cross of Jesus led me to change in my life is that it changed my perspective on how I view myself and my sin, and kind of freed me from the fear that the people I love were going to find out like the worst parts of me. And so just some like context, I guess, like I grew up like in a religious family, like in these family of churches, and I grew up going to church, and I think as a result, I had a very like, I appreciated this, I had a strong sense of right and wrong, a fear of, or like a respect for the law, and I think a fear of being wrong or doing wrong, or maybe more particularly a fear of like getting caught doing wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I felt so much pressure to be good and to do good and to do what was right, that not exactly a double life, but like I think I felt like there was a second Renee growing inside of me that was filled with all of these things that I didn't want to do or didn't want to be. You know, whether this Renee was selfish and vain and deceitful and possessive and manipulative and all these other things that I didn't like about myself, and it was sinful, it was hurtful. And I felt like I had to hide that side of me. I was terrified that anybody was ever going to find out, because if they knew, they would leave. And that was sort of the way that I kind of led. And I'm grateful really that you asked the question, what the cross of Jesus led me to change in my life, and not like what religion or going to church changed my life, because I think that was what resulted in my life.
Amen.
From growing up going to church every week. Not only that, but like that was part of what, came out of it.
It's funny, I was going to ask, what do you think, because there's things that you wanted to share. You know, we all know what we do wrong and who we are, right? Like, you might hide from other people. What do you feel caused you to feel like you could not share those parts of you?
I think there was I was afraid of judgment. I think I spent so much time like building up an idea of who I was to other people, and I'm a big like people pleaser, and like I just wanted people to like me. And so in that context I was surrounded by people who knew the same sense of right and wrong, and to me like this is good, this is bad. In my head the logic was that okay, I have to be this way for people to accept me. And so I think wait, what was the initial question?
I did it too. Yeah, but what caused the fear? Like,
The fear. So I think it was a fear of rejection. I think it was a fear, but it was also pride. It was like, I want to be this way, and so let me ignore all these other things that don't make me that way. Let me build my identity based on these things that is not me, really. And I think that was a lot of the fear. It was a fear of rejection, a fear of looking foolish. I mean, one example, looking back, I think it's dumb. Like, I had a lot of like issues, like body image issues, which manifested in eating issues. And I couldn't tell anyone, not even because I don't know, that I was ashamed of that particularly, but I didn't want to tell anybody because I was afraid people would then be like, oh, Renee cares about how she looks. Like that was my mindset. Was that I didn't want people to think that I was superficial or that I was vain or that I was any of these kind of things that don't live up to the ideal of like what a good Christian girl is.
Wow. It's funny you can share that because like I think when we think of vulnerability, that's like a really scary word for most people, right? Like being vulnerable. And but on the flip, we all desire to be accepted, like you're sharing, and connected. So the way that we go about being accepted and connected is kind of by hiding, right? Like it's kind of like counterproductive in a sense when we think about it.
Yeah.
Especially when you really think of what really brings genuine connection and acceptance is actually really vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
So what helped you to get over the hump to, stop living in that, but to actually start being more vulnerable about those things in your life?
I think the caveat to that too, like just 'cause you brought up vulnerability. I think I was also like measured in my vulnerability I would be like vulnerable with some things, but like the parts of myself that I was very shameful about, I wouldn't share. So like I would tell you if I was having a bad week, or if I was hurt by something, or I had a fight. But the shameful parts, like really, I could not share. And I think what helped me overcome was the cross, right? And I think what helped me particularly about the cross, is the cross changed my view of God's mercy towards me. And I think growing up, even in a religious context, I heard about God's grace and about God's mercy. And in my mind, it was, and like Jesus is our like mediator, right? And in my mind, I always imagined like Jesus going up to God in like the court of Renee's like verdict and being like God, look, I know Renee messed up, but she doesn't know what she's doing. Like, please, like, just give her another chance.
Yeah.
And then, so that was my view. That was my view of God's mercy, of God being like, okay, I'll pardon her this time. I think the problem with that was that I was always waiting for the next time I was going to slip up. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, what if one day God's patience just runs out? Like, what if he's just like, this is one time too many? And it was just a very like unhealthy way of viewing it. I think how the cross changed my view of God's mercy, and then how I guess saw myself, was that, when the Bible says that Jesus is like our advocate and like our legal advocate almost, he paid the price on the cross. He goes up to God in the court of Renee's verdict, and he goes, God, I know that Renee has messed up, but look at my hands, look at my broken body. I paid her debt. And he goes up and he argues my case based on the law. He says, God, based on the law, you cannot demand two payments for the same debt. She is free. And so I think that the fact of the cross being my sin crucified because of Jesus' sacrifice, it makes all the difference in the world, because instead of waiting for the next time I'm going to slip up or waiting for somebody to discover that I'm a fraud, I'm like, wait, there is no case against me because of Jesus. There is no case. And so I get to be like look at this part of myself that I hate, it died. That is not me. That is not part of my identity, and it has no bearing on how much I am loved. And I think that is how.
Well, with that, I mean, what's one thing in light of God's mercy, His grace, how it's one cost has already been paid for everything that comes moving forward. What do you want to just encourage the audience, like your final word that you want to share with everyone based on what God has shown you?
I mean, I think my final words. Well, I think because of the cross, know that even with no matter how many times that you mess up, Jesus goes up to God and he doesn't just plead for mercy, he demands justice. And your debt is paid in full. And I think what that has done to me is that I know that God doesn't just see me as perfect, but he has made me perfect. That is what I am. And so I want to encourage you guys with that. I think it completely changes the way then that you can even relate to each other.
Thank you for your vulnerability. So, with that, we're going to continue on here with just that message. And I think vulnerability is a really funny thing, because it really shows, it's like a measuring mark. How much grace have you really accepted? Right? Because your ability to be vulnerable with who you really are, not the image that you're putting up, but who you really are, is really a measure of the grace and the mercy that you've accepted in Christ. Right? Once you've accepted the fact that, look, it's been paid, all this has been dealt with, I have no need for shame, you're able to walk a different walk, you're able to be authentically yourself. And I want to talk a little bit more about this as we go into what we've been discussing. As we know, we are studying out the book of who said John? Right? Who said John? Okay, justice, I'll give you grace this time. We're studying out the book of Mark, okay? We have been in the book of Mark for a little bit, and it's been really good. We've been talking about a lot of different topics. And the past few weeks, we spent a lot of time delving into the topic of divorce, because Mark chapter 10 starts off with that topic in particular. We have went through that. We had a couple of lessons in Mark now, but today we're going to read about the final healing miracle in the Gospel of Mark. Right? The last one, the healing miracle in the Gospel of Mark. After this, there are no more healing miracles. After this, we have entered into Jesus' journey into Jerusalem. And as we know, him going to Jerusalem, we know what, eventually is going to happen there. So we're going to be spending a lot of time on the cross moving forward. But today, it's the healing of a man named, and it's funny because when you look at the healings in the Bible, majority of all the healings in the Bible, they actually, the name isn't given to the character of the person that's been healed. It's either the blind man, the person with leprosy, the person with a demon, right? Even like when he's confronting people, it's a rich young ruler. He's never really given the name, but this one, we've been given the name. So we can turn our Bibles to Mark chapter 10. And we're going to be looking at the healing of the blind man by the name of Bartimaeus. And it's funny because here, not only do we have his name, Bartimaeus, but by virtue of knowing his name, the meaning of his name means the son of, It's okay, you can say today, very proud.
Son of consolation.
There we go, that's actually, yeah. That's why I love having Lawrence in the group with us. But that's, so we actually know his lineage as well. We know his family as well, right? So by virtue of his name. So here's a spoiler alert for the sermon. Here we go. I know, it's a shocking parents, right? Spoiler alert, we're talking about a blind person being healed, but we're not just talking about this blind person. There's someone else that's being healed of their blindness as well, okay? This healing, honestly, is a fundamental example of the Gospel of Mark and what the author has been trying to illustrate to us throughout this whole Gospel. We notice this is not the first blind person that was healed, right? In the Gospel of Mark. Our brother Koya did a sermon a little while ago of the other person that was healed earlier on in Mark chapter 8. And with that, we're actually going to go do a little flashback to Mark 8, because Mark 8 is actually a very crucial chapter in the Gospel of Mark that really sets the narrative in a very powerful way. If you read Mark chapter 8, the disciples look horrible. They just look bad. It's an embarrassing chapter for the disciples, okay? I'm sure that they're not very happy this when they look back through it, but in this chapter, it exposes a lot about them that's being dealt with moving forward. Especially when you read it in flow, right? It starts off with the feeding of the 4,000, and the disciples were confused, they were dull, they didn't really understand what was going on. And then, as we remember, we talked in length about this one. I think we had about 2 sermons that kind of carried off of this message alone. But remember the warning that Jesus gave the disciples? He said, watch out for the yeast of who? The Pharisees and Sadducees, but in Mark specifically, it's the Pharisees and Herod, right? And what was their response to that? Jesus said, watch out, be on alert for the yeast of the Pharisees and Herod. And what was the response from the disciples? He's mad because we forgot the bread. How did they get that? It wasn't even like he's mad at Herod or we got to watch out for these Pharisees. They're like, oh, Jesus, he's obviously upset because we forgot bread. It's like, what? We look at that like, we don't get that. And then Mark 8:17, his response here is really deep because he says, aware of their discussion, he knows that they're talking about bread. Jesus asked them, why are you talking about having no bread? Right? He literally says that. Why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to what? See. Do you have ears and fail to what? Hear. And don't you remember? And this challenge says a lot about the narrative of the Gospel of Mark. Do you not see? Do you not hear? And do you not understand? These 3 things consistently are addressed throughout the Gospel of Mark. Do you not see? Do you not hear? And do you still not understand? And we as disciples today in 2019 have to ask ourselves, do we not see, do we not hear, and do we still not understand? He ends with the question, do you still not understand? He asks him this. And Jesus, then, after that, heals the blind man at where? What was the location he healed the blind man at in this one? Where's it? Bethsaida, right? He healed the blind man at Bethsaida. That's Mark 8:22. This is the one that Koya did a great job talking about. I want to add a little bit to this message because it's important to catch the narrative here, right? Jesus had to heal this man twice, right? And remember we talked about that? Like, he had to heal the guy twice, which was kind of weird, right? And, I mean, the whole process of how he healed him was a little out the box, right? He spit on the guy to heal him. I mean, it's Jesus. That's some holy spit, but it's still spit, okay? So, when you need a healing, it don't matter how you get it, right? That's lesson in its own book, okay? 2 stages here, though. There's 2 stages of healing going on. And we got to talk about these 2 stages because they're important. And now we can look at it as like, oh, Jesus must have ran out of juice. You know what I mean? Like, it's why he had to do it again. But that's us not catching the narrative. That's us not catching what Jesus is really trying to do here. Because as Jesus did often, he spoke in what? Parables, right? Which is an earthly meaning. Earthly story with a heavenly meaning. Thank you so much. Y'all are on it. Right? And so he spits in this guy's eye, which is crazy. And he asked him, what do you see? And the man said what? I see people walking like trees. What does that say? That he doesn't have clear vision, right? Yeah. He doesn't have clear vision. That was an obvious question. Wasn't trying to trick you guys, you know. Right? He still doesn't see clearly. Then he did it again. And what happened the second time? He was able to see. This is really important. Sometimes we can read through this and we're just looking at it in isolation, but again, this is a narrative here. All of this is building up to something. From Mark 1 to Mark 16, it's all building up to something. We are on a journey with Jesus, right? And what he's trying to really teach his disciples, not just for the disciples, but for who? Us as well. This sign here was for the disciples. Spiritual sight was not coming to them instantaneously. They were with Jesus, and it didn't transform them like this. What did it take? It took time. It took a process. That healing was not instantaneous because he was trying to show them something. As we saw before, he's like, man, you guys don't get it. What are you talking about bread? Bread? I said Pharisees and Herod. What? Come on, guys. You know? And he's like, okay, you guys don't understand. You're not seeing. Then right after that, he does this. Literally right after that. And he's like, did y'all see this? Did y'all see what just happened? Spiritual sight is the same with us. It comes gradually. It comes in stages. And this is why we got to be patient with one another. Just because you got baptized don't mean you see spiritually like this. Right? It takes time. It's a process. And it could look like Jesus saying, watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and Herod. You're like, yo, where the bread at? You know what I mean? Like, you just look, it's a dull response. Because spiritual sight takes time. And it doesn't end there. Literally, right after that miracle, Mark 8:27, we get Peter's great confession, right? Great confession. Peter acknowledges Jesus, right? He says, you are the yes. Who do they say I am? Or who do you say I am? And Peter says what? You are Jesus. You are the Christ. Stage 1, he's doing pretty good. Right? Wow, okay, Peter, you're on it. You're seeing things spiritually. You're seeing people. The question is, but do they look like trees? Right? Okay, you see me, but do you fully see me? Because it's not finished. Because what happened right after that? Jesus goes on to talk about what? What must happen to him? That he's going to have to die. He talks about what it means to be the Messiah, the suffering Messiah. that will be crucified. And what does Peter do? He just said, you're the Christ. He just acknowledged him as the Christ. And right after that, Peter says what? Rebukes the Christ. You just said he's the Christ, and you got the audacity to rebuke the Christ? Now, we understand it was good-hearted. That'll never happen to you, Jesus. What are you talking about? And Jesus turns around and says what to him? Get behind me, Satan. Spiritual blindness, spiritual sight comes gradually. It takes time. It takes being challenged. It takes being corrected. It's not instantaneous. Jesus called him that. It's deep because he doesn't get it. And really, when Jesus was challenging him here, and I want us to catch a series of things. Again, you're like, parents, we're in chapter 10. What are you doing in chapter 8? Follow me, okay? He challenges a couple things. Here, he's challenging their perspective of power. He's challenging their perspective of power. How are you the Christ? You're the Messiah, and you're going to die, be murdered? That's not, no, you're the Messiah, triumphant, victorious. That's not how this works, Peter. Chapter 9, the transfiguration, right? Andre went and talked about that with us and shared a little bit about that. And he has the transfiguration. He sees these great figures in the Old Testament. He sees all these people. And what's Peter's response? This is great. What does he want to do? He wants to build some hotels, right? I mean, he wants to build houses for them. And Jesus is like, what are you talking about? That's not it. Again, here he's challenging their perspective on worship. This is what you think is to worship. You got to build a temple and build something for it. That's not it. Not seeing it. Verse 38. There's other people casting out demons. And then the disciples are like, hey, Jesus, man, there were some other guys casting out demons in your name. You know what we did, Jesus? You're going to be so proud of us. You're going to be so proud of us. Because we shut that down. We told them, who do you think you are, casting out people in the name of Jesus? That's our job. We are the disciples. You're not the disciples. You didn't walk with Jesus. We walk with Jesus. You don't have the right to cast out demons. Only we have the right to cast out demons. What did Jesus say to them? What did he say? What are you doing? They're doing exactly what needs to be done. Right? He challenged them. And there, he's challenging their elitism, right? There's this mindset of elitists. Like, we're the disciples. Only us. No one else. Because we walk with Jesus. He's challenging that. Spiritual blindness. You're not seeing it. You're missing it. Wrong perspective on belonging. Mark chapter 10, verse 13. The children come up to him. Children come to Jesus, right? And what do the disciples do? Oh, that's great. The kids love Jesus. What do? They make room. Guys, walk away. The kids are coming. No. What do the disciples do? They rebuke the kids. I'm like, these guys are crazy. Like, you're rebuking everybody, right? Like, the kid, you gonna get it. You gonna get it. Like, everybody's getting rebuked here. Kids coming to Jesus, rebuking. You know what I mean? Sorry. Anyway, y'all got what I'm saying, right? He's like rebuking them. Like, what are you guys doing? And what does Jesus have to go and do to them? What does he say? Let the kids come. Let them come to me. Don't hold them back. And then he does, he kind of opens the door. And he really says something that's huge that I don't think we get. I mean, Jesus was indignant. But he goes on, he says, again, he has to teach them the upside-down values of the kingdom of heaven. And this is important. The values of the kingdom of heaven are upside down in comparison to how we deal with things here. How we view it. You think it's for big shots. You think it's for people with power. You think it's that you can kind of push your way to the front, right? Because they ask, who's going to sit on the left and the right, right? The values of the kingdom are upside down. You think the way up is up. But in the kingdom, the way up is what? Down. It's down. It's down. Finally, James and John, like I said earlier, they say, hey, Jesus, they like, we want you, Jesus, they're telling Jesus, is Mark 10. Hey, James, John, disciples, hey, we want you to do for us whatever we ask.
Whoa.
That's exactly what I said. Jesus, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. I didn't add this. It's literally what it states in the scriptures. What is this a sign of here? Say it? Pride? Yeah. There's something else a little bit more specific, though. Entitlement. Entitlement. Right? Coming up to we want you to do for us whatever we want. I want, it should be, why is it not the way I want it to be? And you know how entitled people get when they don't get what they want, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they ooh. Y'all know this? They. Them entitled folks, right? Yeah. Oh. What? Let's point that finger right. Who could walk around entitled? Throw it, right? Getting in the attitude when we don't get what we want. If things aren't going the way this is how it should be. This is what it should be. Why is it like this? No, it should be like that. No. Who's in charge here? Who's the Christ? Who died on the cross? Definitely wasn't you. But we talk like that, right? So do y'all get the point? There's more than one person blind in the Gospel of Mark. I just wanted to illustrate that. Did I illustrate that well? Thanks, so you feel good? Okay, that was good. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page here as we come to the healing here, to what we're about to see. Sitting on the left and the right. My first memory scripture, I shared this in midweek. My first memory scripture, I'm not going to go into the story, but Sunday school teachers, you better give the kids candy when you say you're going to give them candy. It's not nice, okay? Memorize the scripture. They said they didn't give me candy. I didn't get my candy. I was tight for days. Stopped going to church because of that. The Lord brought me back. Mark 10:42, it says, Jesus says this. He kind of ties into this point here. Ties in. He says, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to be what? Become great among you must be what? Your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be what? No. Don't skip that word. Slave of all. Can't say whoever's first will be last. No. He went another level. And here is my memory scripture. For even the Son of Man did not come to what? Be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for
Others.
Yeah, others, many. But that's not how we look at leadership, right? I want authority and power and control. I want to, no, clean up the house. You know what I mean? Go do some work, right? That's what a leader is in the upside down kingdom of God. This is the value of the kingdom. The disciples get it eventually, right? They get it here. He kind of explicitly said it to them, right? It should be easy now, right? Jesus said it here. He was explicit. You get it. If you want to be first, you got to do what? You got to serve. It's very explicit. Be a slave of all. It's not about you. They want it. They see it. Service. We get it. Now here we are in Jericho. They're in Jericho. Literally, we're just a couple of verses down. Okay? They're in Jericho. They have the right sight. And now we get to our main text and we'll wrap up here. Main text says this. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, which means the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, Jesus, Son of David. I don't want to go into, but the fact that he called him Son of David
is very unique. No one else was saying this at the time, which kind of even highlights something very unique about even his call and his acknowledgement of who Jesus was. Right? He tied him to his what? His kingship, his royal lineage there. Very unique piece there to see that. And he asked, have what? Mercy on me. And then what happened in verse 38? Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But what did he do? He shouted all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Who were the many? We have to ask ourselves this question. The many were who? Disciples. Some of the disciples that were with him. And Jesus had to turn around. And so, now wait a minute. How well is this whole servant of all thing working out with the disciples in their perspective? Right? How well is the first must be last and the last must be first working out? Whoops. We're having a little slip up here, right? We're having a little slip up. It's not necessarily working. See, it's looked at as an inconvenience here. See, we could look at the value system of Christ as an inconvenience sometimes, can't we? We could look at the value system of Christ as an inconvenience. I mean, if you think about this from the perspective of the disciples and what they were doing, right? This is Passover's approaching. Let's put ourselves in the world, right? Passover's approaching. There's a lot of people, right? The crowd is building. They don't have time, to follow the basic routines. They got to get to a location, right? The disciples are probably just thinking very responsibly, right? Like, hey, we gotta move, Jesus. Like, come on. It's a crowd here. There's a lot going on. We don't got time to just, mingle. Thinking very responsibly, right? Efficiency. The guy you see so often sometimes, it's funny, I was thinking about this in New York. I remember sometimes you could walk by and you could see the same person on the bodega, as we call the little corner stores, for those who don't know. Bodega, right? You got a bodega there. Some people know that. You got another Bronx person here. You understand what I'm talking about. And so you can see this guy. You come out the bodega, you see the guy on the corner, and after a while, you see him there every day. What happens? You don't what? See him anymore. You see him so much, you kind of don't see him anymore, right? And so you're just moving through your routine because what you see is your routine. You don't see this person, And this is not just for the lonely or downtrodden. This could be anybody, right? This could be some of the people right here in our ministry. This could be some of the people in your own household. This could be friends and family, right? Where you see them, you see people struggling. You got a pretty big group here. A lot of diverse things going on here. And you could just come in with what? Your routine in mind. I came here, I worshiped, I sang, I heard, I'm gone. Right. There could be new people. But I have a goal. I came to worship, to sing, hear the word, and I'm gone. Someone said, hey, I'm going through this. Oh, man, I'll make sure I pray for you. And then you don't end up praying for them. But you came, you worshiped, you sang, you saw, and you don't follow up. You don't really engage. Right? We could have this whole concept of coming through to accomplish your routine. You could come through and you could hear the pain of other people going on around you, and sometimes you can become what? Numb to it. And you don't notice it, and you're moving on throughout your day. Right? You're doing your thing. And the question I want you to ask yourself, is Christ's value system an inconvenience to you? Is Christ's value system, this upside down kingdom, the way he looks at the world, do you look at the world the same way? And if you do, is it inconvenience? Is it an inconvenience? Do you look at it as like, oh, this is a hindrance for me? See, we are with Jesus. We are going to Passover. We are the leaders. We are the chosen one. They see themselves as this. And I love when you strip people of their titles, you really see why they're doing what they do. Right. You see it. You see it clear as day. How can you be a disciple of Jesus, yet be a barrier for those who need to meet him and experience his mercy? And sometimes we as disciples of Jesus could be barriers for people experiencing the mercy of Christ. sometimes the church can be a barrier between people who need to receive mercy and actually getting it. Because we're fixated on our routine. It's hard for us to stop and be like, how are you? We got our marching orders. We just going, and sometimes we can see people on the wayside. Sometimes we're marching with people with us, and they falling off, and we just keep going forward. Gotta press on. And we're trampling over people. You know, we gotta ask ourselves, can the church be a barrier? The way the disciples were a barrier initially for this blind man actually encountering Jesus. Like they were the barrier. They were in the way. And I love how Jesus is like, no, bring him to me. Right? They're like, look, Jesus ain't got time for all this. You got to get here, like, relax. And Jesus is like, actually, no, bring him to me. It's like, okay, come on. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus wants to speak to you. You know what I mean? Like, it's sometimes we could be that way, right? It's so funny, you know. We want to be involved in the life and the miracle working of Christ, right? And we want to see God do great things, but we always want it on our time, right? And our dime, right? I want to help someone, but I want to help someone come to Christ that's, you know, maybe they're young and flexible, their schedule, you know, so their schedule will work on my schedule because I'm busy. So let me get someone who's young and their schedule's flexible, and I can work it in and I can help them. As a matter of fact, it would be even better if maybe they're a little religious, they know some Bible, right? So it's not like I gotta I can really have to grind in there, but I could kind of help them a little easier and they get it. And maybe, I hope that they have their life together, you know? A little wealthy, maybe they're doing good in their life, because then it's not like it demands so much of me giving, you know? So my schedule's fine, I don't have to give so much time and effort, and they know scripture, so I ain't gotta go study stuff out. I can just teach them the basics and help them out. It's kind of like I want a rich young ruler to help come to Christ, right? And how did Jesus do helping the rich young ruler? But who do we look for? Oh, we love to find the convenience. Because the value system of Christ could be so, what? Inconvenient to our busy lives, right? The service of Christ, and the service that he really demands from us, could be so inconvenient. And I'm not saying to you, I'm saying to me, it is. It's that way. Me and my wife were talking recently. She's reading through through Acts. And she's like, man, it's so, like, you hear what Acts called them to. Like, they were literally giving up homes and items for people who are in need. And it's so funny how we can have people even in our own congregation in need, but ain't nobody opening their home or giving up their home for them. Ain't nobody cutting checks for them. And again, now this can sound extreme. I know. This is America, okay? I ain't trying to be caught slipping on it. I know where I'm at. But what I'm saying is this. We see what Jesus said here, especially in Acts. They literally did these things. But I mean, for us to do that, what would that be? It would be such a inconvenience. It could be so inconvenient. Service is so inconvenient. Right? But you know what people really see when they're looking for Christ? What really shows people Christ and the love of God? Say it. Service. When you step out of your comfort zone, when you step out of your convenience, and you're like, you're more important than me. Your needs are more valuable than me. I am a slave to you. Oh, I'm busy. I got this. I got that. Serve me. But I still want authority, and I still want power, and I still want dominion. I still want to be part of the elite group that walks with Jesus. But I ain't got time for all this other logistical service and meeting needs and sacrificing my time. I got this. I know they're going to hell, but I got this. And Jesus will send somebody else because he loves them. I got this. I got to do this. God is good, right? Look, God brought people to take care of them. God is good. But I'm not a part of the goodness. You know, it's sometimes I think it's important to step back and let's take the Bible for what it says. What is it calling you to? It's calling you to give. I really enjoy what we're doing with this Hope Scouts thing because to me, it's like it's instilling the value system of God to our children. Right now, what's more important than you give something to this world? And you don't just get caught up taking. Because here's what happens. We're blessed to be a part of God's kingdom. God shares and lavishes us with so many blessings. But you know what happens when you in a home that gets lavished with a lot of blessings and little expectation on you serving? What happens? You become a what? You become spoiled. And you have a lot of ideals, but you have very little service. And there's a lot of people who talk, but they don't do anything. They don't do nothing. And true service, true leadership, the people that are at the top in the kingdom of God are those who get dirty. They're sacrificing, they're serving, they're meeting the needs, they're engaged. They're not disconnected, they're not complaining about their stuff, complaining about my schedule, complaining about my money, complaining about my job, complaining about all the stuff I gotta do. They are focused on what? Meeting needs. Those who are at the top of the kingdom of God are the givers. I mean, the Beatitudes talk about this. Blessed are those who what? There's a lot of them. But none of them say, blessed are the entitled. Right? None of them say, blessed are those who take care of their business first and their schedule and everything. And sometimes we complain, why are things so hard for me? Why? Where's God? Well, where are you? God's asking, where are you? You're asking, where am I? It's very clear where I'm at. It's very clear what I'm trying to do. Are you here or are you over there? You have to ask yourselves that question. You know, the thing that I want us to, he goes on at the end of this, he says, he goes on in the scripture and says, so they called him, the blind man, cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you. That just sounds so like spiteful a little bit. And maybe I'm adding some emotion to the scripture here, but I mean, it's just very interesting that initially they were saying, no, he don't got time for you, he's busy, and then they're like, all right, cheer up, on your feet, he's called you, right? It's very interesting that that's put in there. The blind man, throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. What do you want for me to do? Jesus asked him. The blind man said, Rabbi, I want to what? See, very clear. The man's like, I know what I want. I've been wanting this for years, right? I want to see. Go, Jesus said, your faith has healed you. Immediately, he received his sight and he followed Jesus on the road. You know, the simplicity of his request was a testimony to his faith. He knew what God could do. He knew clear things. Like, I know you can do this. The simplicity of his faith, of his request, shows the depth of his faith. It shows that he actually believed that Jesus is able to do what he asked him to do. Sometimes we can be very tempered, right, nowadays. Especially when you've experienced some stuff, it's hard to give those faithful requests to God. God, heal me. God, do this. God, like those sometimes are intimidating. But you know what I really think makes it hard for us to have that type of faith in God, especially as disciples? I think it's because sometimes we don't even believe in it. We don't believe enough to do the things he called us to do. So why should I even ask him to do something great for me? Like, our faith isn't even at a level of absolute obedience. Much less should I put in a grandiose request. I don't believe that his statutes are worth, his value system is worth me honoring, much less me trying to request something from him. That could be a side of it. I'm not saying he's every side, but I think that is a perspective that people can have. And this is what I really want to challenge us as disciples, man. First and foremost, it wasn't even the fact of the healing that he was able to get. What he really shouted out for, his initial request was, Jesus, what? Have mercy. Have mercy on me. And I really feel as Christians, sometimes we don't connect with the mercy and grace of God as much as we should. sometimes, even if we want to connect with it, we can become barriers of others connecting with the mercy and grace of God like they should. Accept his mercy. Regardless of wherever you are on the side of the spectrum of this valuing system, of God's value system. Respect his mercy. He corrected their mistakes and their notions of his followers. He involves them in the healing of this man, and his faith was the means by which he was receiving the healing. That's powerful. The mercy of God is real. Embrace that mercy. But that mercy also comes at a cost of us. And it's not a cost that we have to pay. It should be looked at as an opportunity that we can what? Serve others. That we can give to others. That it's not all about me, but it's all about we. All right? And let's have that collective mindset. There's a couple things. Now we're going to move on to this next portion of our the service. Where we have the opportunity of hearing from the Hope Scouts that we have in Central. So I would definitely want to open that up. And this is really for our children. Again, it's a great opportunity to instill the value system of Christ. That the way up is down. That if you are going to be great in the kingdom of God, then you need to be a servant of all. And so we're going to have a closing song, and then we're going to play a video right after that. All right, so we'll have a song.